Alright, so I've been sitting on this for a while, trying to figure out how to even start. I guess it all begins about 6 months ago when my wife, Amanda, and I seemed to hit a rough patch. We'd been married for 10 years with a daughter, Emily, who's 12 now. Everything seemed fine on the surface, but I started noticing little things. Her phone going silent when I walked into the room, her brushing off my questions about her day, and her becoming more and more irritable. It's like she was hiding something, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Amanda is the kind of woman who always had a sharp tongue and a biting attitude. She's bitchy, no doubt about it. She loves throwing little digs at me, and her sarcasm has been her defense for as long as I can remember. But lately, her attitude was sharper than usual, and she'd snap at little things I said. I chalked it up to stress. She's a nurse, and her job can be tough, but deep down, I felt there was more going on. I just couldn't figure out what. Then came the tournament season for Emily's fencing team. Amanda's always been proud of Emily's talent, and she's been pushing her hard. I've always supported Emily's fencing because I saw how much she loved it. We'd go to the competitions, cheer her on, and I'd help with logistics. But over the last few trips, I started noticing strange things. Amanda would leave her phone lying around more often, and she'd get defensive when I asked about her whereabouts. I'd see her texting late at night, and she'd quickly shut her phone when I entered the room. She'd give me a cold stare, and her excuses were increasingly flimsy. One particular weekend, I decided to follow her after I noticed she was acting even more secretive. The team was away at a big tournament, and Amanda said she was just going to help out with some logistics at the hotel. But that night, I saw her slip out of our room dressed in something that looked a little too professional for just helping out. I figured she was maybe going to meet her friends or something. Instead, I followed her around the hotel, keeping my distance, and my stomach sank when I saw her enter a side door I knew led to the training facilities after hours. The place was dark, but I could see faint lights and movement inside. I stayed hidden behind a pillar, watching through a crack, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Amanda was with a man, someone I didn't recognize at first, but then I saw the way she was touching him, and I immediately knew that this wasn't just some innocent meeting. They were kissing, and not just a quick peck either. It was full-on making out, and her hands were all over him. I could see her lips moving, her body pressed against him in a way that clearly didn't scream coaching or team support. It was about sex. My head spun. I felt like my world was crashing down. I wanted to run over there to confront her, but I couldn't move. I was frozen, watching her betray everything we'd built. I saw enough, her in that moment, so confident, so shameless, cheating on me with her fencing coach during our daughter's tournament trips. I saw the way she lost herself in that guy, completely ignoring everything else. When she finally saw me standing there, she froze, her face twisting into a mask of surprise and fury, and then she quickly pulled away from him, adjusting her clothes, trying to look innocent. But it was too late. I had seen everything. It was like someone had punched me in the stomach. I felt numb, like I was outside myself watching this happen to someone else. I didn't say a word that night. I just went back to our room and stayed awake, thinking about what I'd seen. I kept replaying it over and over in my head, trying to deny what I just witnessed. It was real. She cheated on me with her fencing coach, someone she's supposed to be mentoring our daughter with, and she lied about where she was every single time I asked. I was devastated, angry, and honestly, I didn't know what to do next. That's where I am now, sitting here trying to process everything, wondering how I got to this point and what the hell I'm supposed to do about it. So after I saw her with that guy in the training facility, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing, thinking about all the moments I missed, all the signs I ignored, and how stupid I'd been to trust her so blindly. I mean, Amanda's always been a bit of a bitch, quick to lie and even quicker to dismiss my feelings, but this was something else entirely. I felt betrayed on a level I didn't even know existed. The next day I tried to act normal, went to work, came home, pretended everything was fine, but inside I was boiling with rage and hurt. I couldn't believe she had been sneaking around behind my back for who knows how long. And knowing it was with the fencing coach, who's supposed to be like part of the team, just made it worse. It wasn't just some random affair. It was with someone who knew our daughter, who was supposed to be her mentor. A few hours later, I decided I had to confront her. I waited until Emily was at her friend's house and Amanda was lounging on the couch, her usual bitchy smirk on her face. I looked at her, and for a second I saw that cold, snarky woman I knew so well. I didn't hold back. I dropped the bomb, what I saw, what I knew. Her face twisted into a look of pure annoyance, then she started lying right away, of course. "Oh, you're so paranoid, John," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's none of your business who I talk to or see after hours. I was just helping the coach with some last-minute training tips. It's not a big deal." She looked at me like I was the crazy one, like I was making a mountain out of a molehill, but I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I told her I saw her, that I knew what she was doing, and she just scoffed and started calling me paranoid and insane. "You're overreacting," she snapped. "You think I'd cheat on you? Please. You're imagining things. You're just jealous because I'm doing better than you at everything." That moment, hearing her lie so blatantly, made my blood boil. I'd always known she was manipulative, but this was next level. She denied everything, saying I was crazy, that I was imagining things, that I was just insecure. She even tried to turn it around, saying I was the one who was always suspicious and controlling. Honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she so easily dismiss what I saw? How could she lie straight to my face about something so obvious? My emotions were a mess. I was hurt, furious, embarrassed, and I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I looked at her and I saw the woman I loved, the woman I married, turning into something cold and unrecognizable. I didn't know whether I should shout, cry, or just walk out. But I knew one thing: I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I had to do something. I spent the rest of the day trying to decide what that something was. Part of me wanted to storm out, to end it right then and there. But I also knew I needed evidence, something concrete I could hold over her head, something that would make her look bad if she tried to deny it again. And that's when I remembered the team video analysis footage I'd seen online. Turns out there was a way I could get access to the team footage from the tournament, footage that captured her and the fencing coach after hours at the training facilities. I was pretty sure I could get a hold of it. If I did, it would be game over. I'd finally have proof of her cheating and I'd be able to confront her with it. I wasn't planning on just letting her walk away that easily. I wanted to make her pay for what she did, for how she hurt me and Emily. That was my plan: gather the evidence, confront her, and then see where I stand. It was clear to me that this wasn't going to be a simple fight about a mistress or an affair. It was about trust, betrayal, and the fact that Amanda had been lying to my face for months. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I had to be strategic. I couldn't just go off half-cocked. I needed that footage. And once I had it, I knew everything would change, whether I stayed in this marriage or walked away. Deep down, I already knew. This was the end of the line for us, but I had to be careful. I had to get that video first. Then I could figure out my next move. The betrayal was too deep, and I wasn't planning to just forgive and forget. No, this was about making her face what she's done, and making her regret it. So I started digging around for that footage. I knew the tournament was recorded, every match, every practice, every after-hours mess at the training facility. I couldn't just ask Amanda for the footage. She'd lie again, deny everything, or refuse outright. I needed a plan. I remembered that the team's coach, Mark, had access to the videos. He always uploaded clips after tournaments, and I figured if I could get access to the files, I'd find what I needed. I waited until Amanda was out running errands. Then I did some sneaky research. I found out that Mark kept the video archive on a shared server. I managed to get hold of the login credentials through a bit of hacking. Nothing fancy, just some basic social engineering and a little luck. Once inside, I scrolled through the folders, heart pounding. And there it was, hours of footage from the tournament, including the training facility after hours. I hurriedly downloaded everything onto my laptop. I scrolled through frame by frame, trying to find the exact moment I saw her with that guy. And there it was, clear as day. Amanda, in a hoodie and leggings, sneaking into the training area with the coach, there in the dimly lit hallway, then inside one of the training rooms. I could see her lips moving, the way she was leaning into him. They're kissing again, hands all over each other. I saw her pull him closer, their bodies pressed together in a way that made my stomach turn. I couldn't believe I'd missed this for so long. All those late nights, all those lies. It was right there in front of me. I felt a mixture of relief and anger. Relief that I finally had proof, anger that she'd been cheating on me right under my nose. I wanted to smash my laptop to make her feel as small as she'd made me feel. But I knew I had to stay calm. I had what I needed now. The hard evidence. I stayed up all night, watching that footage over and over, trying to think of the best way to confront her. I knew I couldn't just show her the video outright. That would be too easy for her to deny or dismiss. I needed to make her confront herself, to see how deep her lies ran. I was planning to set a trap, something that would force her to admit everything, or at least make her realize I knew everything. Next step was to figure out how to use this footage without blowing everything up immediately. I wanted her to realize I had it, but I didn't want to tip my hand yet. So I waited. I kept quiet for a few days, acting like everything was normal. Meanwhile, I was planning my next move, trying to figure out how to make her squirm, how to make her see that her lies were pointless now. And then came the moment I'd been waiting for. I got a text from her, some bullshit about needing to talk, wanting to clear the air. I knew exactly what she was hinting at. She was probably trying to deny everything, to pretend she hadn't been caught. But I wasn't stupid anymore. I was ready. I had the evidence, and I was planning to use it to make her face what she'd done. That's when I realized that this wasn't just about a cheating wife anymore. It was about my own self-respect, about whether I wanted to stay married to someone who could lie so easily, so callously. I'd been a good husband, a good dad, and she'd gone and done something so reckless that it threatened everything. Knowing I had this footage, I felt a strange mix of power and despair. Power because I finally knew the truth, and despair because I knew this was going to destroy what was left of our marriage. All I could think about was how I needed to be ready. Ready for her lies, her manipulations, her excuses. I needed to be prepared for whatever she threw at me. Because once she saw I had the proof, I was pretty sure she'd try to spin it, deny it, or worse, sit there and try to manipulate me. But I wasn't going to let her anymore. I'd seen her true face, and I knew I'd never trust her again. The day finally came when Amanda decided to talk. She called me at work, her voice all sugar and venom at the same time. "We need to talk," she said, trying to sound innocent, like she had no idea what I was about to do. I told her to come over after she finished her shift. I wanted to keep her on edge, make her sweat a little, and see how far I could push her without giving away the fact I already had what I needed. When she arrived, she looked tense. Her usual bitchy smirk was gone, replaced by a nervous, defensive look. I sat her down in the living room, kept my face cold and steady, and then I pulled out my laptop. I had already prepared everything, ready to show her the footage. I clicked open the file and hit play. The first seconds were enough to make her freeze. Her eyes widened as she saw herself, sneaking into the training facility with Mark. Her lips moving, her hands clutching his shirt, everything was there. I watched her reaction change from confusion to panic. Her face went ghostly white, then flushed with anger, then outright rage. She started stammering, trying to deny it, trying to deflect. "What is this? How did you get this?" She spat, eyes darting around like she was trying to find an escape route. I kept my voice even, cold. "You know exactly what this is, Amanda. The question is why? Why did you lie to me for months? Why were you sneaking around with the fencing coach behind my back during our daughter's tournaments? Tell me the truth." She tried to deny it, of course. Started throwing out bullshit about how I was paranoid, how I was spying on her, that I had no right to invade her privacy. "You're crazy, John," she snapped. "You're just jealous, insecure. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I never cheated, I swear." But her words sounded hollow, her eyes flickering with guilt and fury. She knew she'd been caught, she just didn't want to admit it. I pressed her harder, asking why she did it. Her answer was classic Amanda, full of lies and bullshit. "He's just a friend. We're just training, that's all. You're overreacting. I was stressed, and he's the only one who understands what I'm going through. Sex, please, we never even," I cut her off. "You expect me to believe that after what I saw, that you're just friends, kissing, touching, sneaking out after hours? You were cheating, Amanda. You fucked him, didn't you?" During tournament trips in the training facilities, when I was at home thinking everything was fine. How long has this been going on? How many times? She looked like she wanted to kill me, her face twisted with rage and shame. You don't understand, it was just sex. It doesn't mean anything, it's not like I love him, I was just— That's when I saw her break. She sank onto the couch, tears streaming down her face but still trying to spin it to lie her way out of it. You're right, she whispered. I fucked him. I was lonely. I needed someone to make me feel alive. I don't love you anymore, John. You're boring, controlling, and you don't listen to me. Maybe I shouldn't have done it, but I couldn't help myself. I didn't mean to hurt Emily, I swear I didn't. Hearing her confess finally was like a punch to the gut. The anger, the betrayal, it all hit me at once, but also a strange sense of relief. Now I knew the truth and I could decide what to do about it. I looked at her, and honestly I felt nothing but disgust. Disgust that I'd been married to someone so manipulative, so selfish, that I'd trusted her for so long. I told her to pack her shit and leave. I did. Want her in my house anymore. I told her I'd think about what to do next. I felt like I was in a fog, angry, hurt, but finally free from the lies. Watching her cry, trying to deny everything, only made me realize how much I'd been blinded. I'd given her everything, my trust, my love, and she'd thrown it all away for a quick fuck with her coach. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything I saw, trying to process the fact that my wife, the woman I loved and trusted, had been unfaithful during our daughter's tournaments. During times I thought she was supporting Emily, cheering her on, being a good mom. Instead, she was with him in the shadows, hiding her affair behind a mask of bitchy sarcasm and lies. And the worst part, I knew I could never forgive her. No matter what she said, no matter how much she begged, the image of her with that guy and her lying so smoothly would stay with me forever. I realized that the only way forward was to start rebuilding my life, because after this, trust was shattered beyond repair, and I didn't see myself ever looking at her the same way again. The days that followed were a blur. I stayed pretty quiet, mainly because I was trying to gather my thoughts and figure out what to do next. Amanda moved out the day after she confessed, taking her stuff and disappearing for hours at a time. I didn't care where she went. I was mostly just trying to process how someone I loved could turn into such a stranger. She'd lied, cheated, and blindsided me in ways I never expected, and honestly I felt like I'd been punched in the chest every time I looked at her. At first, I felt pure rage. I wanted to tear her apart, confront her with everything I had, a video, her lies, her betrayal. But then that anger started transforming into a strange numbness, like I was just going through the motions. I kept thinking about Emily, our daughter, and how she must be feeling. I didn't want her to grow up thinking that lying and betraying your family was okay. I knew I had to be the adult in this situation, even if half of me just wanted to lash out and make her pay. I decided that I wasn't going to jump into anything rash. I needed time to think, to weigh my options. I also needed to decide whether I wanted to try and save the marriage or just cut my losses. Honestly, I knew deep down that trust was gone forever. Once I had seen her in that video, everything changed. I couldn't pretend anymore that she was the same person I married. The Amanda I knew was gone, replaced by someone who was manipulative, selfish, and willing to cheat on her own family. So I took a step back and focused on Emily. I didn't want her to suffer from our mess, so I kept everything as normal as possible. I made sure she felt loved and safe, even if I was dying inside. My mind kept circling back to the footage, to her lies, to how I'd been so blind for so long. I kept thinking about how I could finally put an end to this, whether by confronting her again or just moving on. One day, I sat down and made a decision. I would give her a final chance to come clean. We needed to have an honest conversation. No more lies, no more hiding. If she wanted to stay, she had to be transparent, even if it hurt. If she refused, then there was no point dragging this out. I knew I deserved better than a wife who cheated on me with our daughter's fencing coach and lied for months about it. When I brought up talking, she was hesitant, trying to weasel her way out. But I stayed firm. I told her that I had all the evidence, that I knew the truth, and that I wouldn't tolerate any more bullshit. Her face twisted in anger and frustration. She kept insisting she didn't cheat, that I was exaggerating, that I was just jealous and insecure. I showed her the footage again and her composure cracked. That moment, seeing her face when she realized I had her dead to rights, was some kind of catharsis. I saw her break down, her facade collapsing completely. She finally admitted she'd been with the coach, how it started, that she'd been feeling trapped, how she thought she could keep it secret forever. She tried to justify it, saying she didn't mean for things to go this far, that she was just so empty and bored. That's when I realized I could keep pretending things would magically fix themselves. She was unfaithful, manipulative, and not worth the pain. I decided I was done. I told her she could stay or go, but I was done trying to salvage this marriage. I told her I file for divorce, and I didn't want her back in my life unless she was willing to be honest and truly change. That night was rough. I felt like a fool, like I'd wasted a decade of my life on someone who didn't care about me or our family. I was hurt, angry, and exhausted, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I finally knew the truth and I could start building a new life, free from her lies. I knew I'd never trust her again, and honestly, I didn't want to. Looking back, I realized that this whole experience has changed me. I've become more guarded, more cautious. But I've also learned that sometimes you have to face the ugly truth head-on, no matter how much it hurts. If there's one thing I'd tell anyone in a similar situation, it's this: don't ignore the signs. Trust your gut, gather your evidence if you need to, and don't be afraid to walk away if that's what's best. Because, in the end, you deserve honesty and loyalty. Anything less is a betrayal you can't come back from. It's been a few weeks since I made the final decision to end things with Amanda. Honestly, it's been a roller coaster. Some days I wake up feeling like I've escaped a nightmare. Other days I'm flooded with regret and anger. But mostly, I feel a strange sense of relief. The truth has set me free from that poisonous web of lies she spun. I'm focused on rebuilding my relationship with Emily, making sure she feels loved and safe, and figuring out what my next chapter looks like. Living with the reality of her betrayal has changed how I see everything. Trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to rebuild, and I know that now. I don't regret what I did, exposing her, confronting her, getting the proof. It was necessary. I needed to know the truth, even if it shattered my world. Now I see her for what she really was: a selfish, manipulative woman who valued her own pleasure over her family's happiness. As for me, I've started therapy, not because I think I'm broken, but because I want to understand how I let this happen, how I ignored the signs, and how I can move forward stronger. I learned that sometimes the hardest thing to do is confront the ugly truth, but it's also the only way to truly heal. I've realized that I deserve honesty, respect, and loyalty, things Amanda never truly gave me. Looking back, I wish I could tell my past self to trust my instincts more, to listen when something feels off, to never ignore the small signs because they usually mean something bigger is hiding underneath. I also wish I'd had the strength to leave sooner, before she dragged me through that emotional hell. But what's done is done. I'm here now, and I refuse to let her define my future. I've also learned that revenge, in its destructive sense, isn't worth it. I don't have to ruin her life. I just need to focus on my own. Moving on, building a new life, and making sure Emily never feels the betrayal I did. That's what matters. I want her to grow up knowing that her dad stood up for himself, for our family, and that sometimes walking away from a lie is the bravest thing you can do. So that's my story. It's raw, it's painful, and it's real. If there's one thing I hope anyone reading this can take away, it's this: never stay in a relationship where honesty and respect are missing. Trust your gut, gather your evidence if needed, and don't be afraid to walk away if it means saving your sanity and dignity. Because at the end of the day, you're worth more than the lies and betrayal. And I finally get that now.